Okay, good evening, everyone. Tonight is January 2nd, 2018, the official kickoff to budget season. For tonight's agenda, we have emergency management. We'll go from police, and within there, talk about police, public safety, dispatchers. That's for the first hour. From there, we'll move on to emergency management. Chief Nelson will be joined by Chief Menser, and then we'll move from fire to ambulance. And we'll wrap things up. So, guys, you're welcome to come on down. Let me preface this by saying...
oh, no. I'll send it again.
Yeah, so, we... Brian and I met with the chief in Lorraine, first part of December, just to go through an initial view of the budget in the hopes of making this evening as productive as possible. Additionally, if you guys all remember the last meeting that we were here in December, we did an initial walkthrough of the entire budget, just kind of taking a look and pointing out various areas. So with that said, if you want to turn to line item 210, and what I'll say before I turn things over to you guys to take us through, I think similar to other years in the past, what we're looking at is really any large outliers on increases. And I can say overall, at least for 210, that is not the case. Total budget for this year requested is 1.2 million, 8312, which is $35,000 all total more than last year. So, knowing that we have, they're not just got the salaries, the COLAs have already been baked in.
Yes, so we're doing it a little bit differently this year. We're putting the COLAs in up front because this way you know what you're looking at. Rather than throwing it all at the end, you know exactly when we do the summary sheets. Exactly what you're looking at. I can pull it out at the end. I don't think we'll need to. We've done a comparison of all different towns, but...
Yeah, and the chief provided us a summary of, per person, so it's all in there. So, again, salary, wages, a lot of that is already factored in. So based upon that, conversation, I think we can just start from purchase of services, on down, unless anyone on advisory disagrees. But I'll turn it over to you guys if you want to take us through.
Certainly.
All right.
Well, first I'd like to at least thank Brad and Brian for stopping and going over the budget. Lorraine did an excellent job going through it. We looked at every possible item. We screened it. If we didn't need it, we didn't put it in. And I think it's pretty evident from the figures that you've already seen that our budget is pretty good right now the way it stands. Okay? I honestly can't see any real big discrepancies or anything that's going to really set off any red flags where we're under 2% increase on this budget. So I'm very happy and very pleased with the numbers that Lorraine came up with. But salary and wages and overtime went up $21,000 from previous fiscal year, and that's due to 4 new people that were hired, salary increases, step increases, and then I think you added the COLA, which my total was $30,000, and I think you're $35,000 with the extra COLA that's in there. So that's at the total. But $21,000 is the big increase. Is the wages, and there's really no play in that. And again, at a 1 point, I think you said 1.96 was an increase. Overall, wasn't bad. So the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we increased by 21,000. So unless there's any questions, I can continue on. Purchase of services, level funded, 4,000.
Yeah, so I guess, now I'm looking at this. So purchase of services, it looks like there's a blank. Hired services is 4.
You don't have a purchase of service in 210, it's hired services.
Okay.
Yep, it's hired, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So we're
good.
Okay.
Yep.
That'll drop off next year when we get rid of that actual 15.
Okay. Yep.
I'm sorry, I'm new, so I'm just going to ask you the questions and hope that you don't mind. When you say
Hired services, what is that particular?
That's gonna be when we have to send people out for physicals
Okay,
or
Thank you.
psychological, anything
Okay.
like that.
okay, thanks.
Hired services, 4,000, same, no increase there. Training, same. I wish I brought a ruler.
Yeah, I'm gonna fold this up.
Yeah, just, training, yeah, that's what, training 4,000. Lockup, 19, no change there. If we arrest 50 people, that's about the norm on the average. And that's just paying for,
That's food and supplies for the cells.
if we have to clean the
Cleaning
cells,
things
anything along that line.
It varies, it's up
You
and down.
really need to feed them, huh?
Yes, we do,
All right,
yes. They
Well, the
are
cupboard's gonna be closed for a month, so I don't know where I'm gonna get food from.
yeah, good.
Companies.
Office supplies, down
Mm-hmm.
by 1,600. And do you need an explanation why, or do you guys just like to see it?
But, I mean, I always like to see things heading down. I wouldn't mind, an understanding. Did you guys,
Always fire alarms, that was because of the tasers. You're
Yep.
jumping ahead. You might want to jump to this sheet.
under office supplies?
Office supplies?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're on
the
office
The
cheapest-
supplies.
reason that, we bought the parking tickets last year.
Oh, that's
100.
that-
So that was one bump, 1 year only.
That's right,
You want to look at this sheet,
yes.
because it has more of an
Ah.
explanation.
And you guys had already told us that, and I
Yes.
already
Yeah.
forgot.
That's all right.
All right, so, so this is, that's my. I can't put that
Firearm supplies, 14,965, down from
at.
15
That's gonna
to.
be less the tasers.
Mhm.
We're not adding more, we're just paying for the contract to replace it if we have to.
Yep,
Uniforms went up a little bit, that's because of 4 new people. We had to obviously outfit them, and there's gonna be a little bit more involved in keeping them geared up. Out-of-state travel, same, that's if we go anywhere, if I want to go to the Chiefs Conference or something like that. Dues and subscriptions, 35, that stays the same as last fiscal year. And that's, the chiefs of police, all the international stuff, it's a lot of magazines and stuff that we can keep
It's all the contracts.
in contracts.
Yeah,
yep.
that you have.
Let's see, miscellaneous, nothing there.
Nothing.
Mhm.
And bulletproof vests did go up, and Lorraine does have an explanation on that. But again, we're adding more people to the staff, so there's a 5-year cycle. So as 5 years go by, we have to replace them. They don't want us using them after the expiration date. So now that I have more officers, I've got to start investing a little bit more money into
And
them.
you guys have a game plan in place for that. So even with you, chief, whatever vest you're wearing, it's documented that
Yes.
you're 3 years in and you got another 2 left on yours. Okay.
So is your plan to buy so many every year as they time out, or do you get them phased like
I
that?
think it's a little different because as you get hired, some people may have a vest and some may not, so then we have to buy it. So it may not be like 1 or 2 people a year, it could be 5 a year, it could be 2 a year. And unless you have,
No, it's just
Anything
that in well, at the time that we put this together, we didn't know that the federal government had released the Bureau of Justice. The 50/50 was between the federal and the state reimbursement.
Mhm.
That's never a guarantee to be timely, so a lot of times, it's.
You gotta pay for it and it comes in later.
Exactly,
Yeah.
so
Mhm.
reimbursed.
we just actually received the notification.
Yeah.
However, if the government freezes, then we could be stalled even longer, if there's a shutdown or anything.
So I was
Federal
gonna
side.
ask you, the 3,800 could get cut in half, but you just put that caveat that the government
Yeah.
could freeze, so you still
But we
want
do get
3,800.
reimbursements, but they don't come in steadily
Right.
with the vests, as Nanotchka can,
So the bottom line is, the bulletproof vest line item, I mean, it's been trending, 16 was 1775, 17 was 1,800, last year budget was 16, this year 3,800, makes all the sense because of the new officers.
Yeah,
But the
it's
bottom
like-
line is, based upon the population of the officers, in concert with just the timing of these things, after 5 years they need to be replaced, that's a line item that will continue to
If it
be.
spike, I could overdraw maybe by 2 vests, and then come back and be on budget the next year, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on, so that block of items, we're up $800 overall.
Mhm.
Cruiser repairs, we'd like to keep it the same. We just can't predict how good or bad our repairs. We just had one cruiser, I think our oldest cruiser, came out with almost $4,000 to $5,000 worth of repairs. I mean, brakes, exhaust, front ends, you name it, they were replacing stuff.
And
So
you-
that's the oldest of our
And you
four.
track repair history by vehicle, right?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, right.
So we're not seeing that go down. We're usually spending every penny of that 25,000. As we keep going and we get a new car each year, you might see it come down, but I haven't seen that happen yet. Cruiser supplies, 7,500, and that's just to keep extra items that we need stocked in that car. Gas, I think we're gonna keep it the same. It's, again, a hard one to predict what the gas price will be in the overall per gallon. So I think we're on track with current budget.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think we're gonna go over on that one, on the gas.
No, we just level fund that amount that advisory has awarded us. Gas prices seem to be maintaining.
So we should be okay if we keep it around 14. Where we've been up and down over the past, 16,000. I think it's 2015 it was up to 23, so I don't think we'll get that high. Tires, same, we like to keep it at $5,000, it's just replacing, we like to get fresh tires summer and winter. So that whole block stayed level funded. Cruiser equipment, again,
And again, can you refresh for the others on advisory, the difference between cruiser supplies and cruiser equipment?
Sure. My summaries. Okay, cruiser equipment. We have to, we buy a lot of supplies through More Medical. We have to maintain the jump kits in each of the car. So that's all first responder equipment. That we have a car wash account. In the wintertime, we have to bring the cruisers to the car wash. I'm just going off what we've been spending so far. We have the law enforcement maintenance, that has to do with, we have to retune the radar.
radar
They
certification
have to come
yearly.
in, that's an
Okay.
annual thing
Yep.
that comes
It's about
in.
$1,000 just to do all the radars.
We just did a big printing, we have multi-part forms that we have to put in each of the cars that we use. Well,
Is that supply?
Yes, but we're talking about
Supplies.
supplies, not office supplies.
So
That's
supply
regular.
is consumables.
5,400 for the cars, yeah, for all the fleet. Anything we have to do, it could be that we just bought new cases for flashlights and charging units and things for each of the cars. So things wear and tear and break down, and we have to replace things, and that's the account we tap into for supplies. Now, office supplies, of course, that's a little
Yeah.
different. Yeah, we all know
So,
what that is.
cruiser supplies relative to cruiser equipment.
Right, now, coming into equipment, I don't think I've tapped into equipment recently. I apologize for not having, no, we haven't. The equipment could be anywhere we have to do with any of the lights, any of that equipment, we have problems with the mobile data terminals. Anything that we have to take out has to be taken out of the car. Sometimes if something breaks within there, the whole car has to come apart to get to certain power
That's separate
supplies.
from repairs.
Yes, it's all separate. This is specific equipment line item that we use for equipping and re-equipping the cruisers. And that also includes the new cars that come on board, that we may have to add additional equipment to after.
So it's very
So-
specific.
So, yeah, if a
Yes.
blue light goes out, we don't use our cruiser maintenance.
Right.
No.
That's for oil changes,
Yes.
exhaust systems, anything like
Equipment
that.
only, yes.
All right.
Makes sense.
So the next line item is cruiser purchase. For the purposes of this discussion, I'd like to hold that off until the end, since we'll get into that. Up to this point on 210, do you guys have any other questions? Connie, Ted? No?
No, I'm waiting on the,
All right. I want to close the meeting with that. I want to go over the other line items. Other questions? All right. Next, public safety, 200.
Same thing.
Yep.
We looked at everything that we needed, that might need to be replaced, and if it didn't need to be in this cycle or a 5-year plan, it's not on here.
Mhm.
We kept it bare bones as much as possible, just to keep the place running. And I think you also noticed we had no items extra,
No major projects.
no projects that we had planned.
Yep.
Yes.
There was no extra articles that
Past
we needed
3 years
to
we
worry
have
about.
filled
Now,
in.
purchase of services is about the only one that, well,
It's gone up.
That's gone up a little bit.
Yeah.
That's a lot of the contracts.
right.
That we have no control over a lot of the time,
So when
so
you say contracts, what form?
So-
Okay.
technology conference, so on the computers, if we have any
Okay.
agreements that we have to pay for, security, so on the system, we may be paying a certain amount of money for the security system. The battery backups upstairs are huge money to replace. It's about as big as this table and is about 5 feet tall. And those are thousands of dollars to replace the setup. So that has to get into the cycle of being repaired. Government domains, all the email stuff and everything costs. Internet, CGIS, the ambulance. I think the ambulance has a billing that they bill for
They
their
have a maintenance
services.
agreement.
So there's a maintenance agreement there.
Mhm.
Live scan for fingerprints, we've got to pay an agreement for them.
Yeah, everything, so, I mean,
And IT.
heating and electric is a push. I mean, a decent decline is maintenance, so a $14,000 decline. One, before we break, Ted, you know, we did a pretty in-depth analysis on heating. We're good on that?
I have not updated it, but I think if we look at the spend date.
Mhm.
We spent a lot so far.
Yeah.
On the
Huh.
heat, no, because I haven't gotten any bills yet since before Christmas, so I don't know any expenditures, I'll say from
Okay, so
mid-December
this
to now.
wouldn't reflect, maybe.
All right, so
Maintenance.
maintenance and software support, you guys were able to decrease a fairly healthy amount on those two items. Anything of significance that might be able to be shared with other departments on how you were able to decline these things?
Well, on the maintenance agreement, of course, we had projects specific to the public safety building. One of them was, we did the tower generator, and what we paid for in 18, so I don't need that in 19. So that was a big purchase, a budget of 15,708. We bought 2 servers this fiscal year that are now everything's being transitioned over, and that was 16,942. And we did some Cisco drops, and that came up to about, I haven't been billed thoroughly for that, but I did budget $8,100 for that. So those things were in this fiscal year now that are no longer going to be in fiscal year 19.
All right.
But in fiscal year 19, I do have another, like this year, I need to replace 4 sets of battery strings for the big battery hookup up in the ceiling for the building. So that is 15,000. So 15,950. So you got the expenses here are offsetting.
Yeah, and Lorraine, I mean, just for the benefit of others, I mean, your actual in 2016 was 94,000, right? Your actual in 15 was 39. So, you know, your requested for 2019 is 39 grand, which is effectively your actual, even from 4 years ago. To your point, every couple of years, you've got to go out and drop a fairly healthy amount on something, right? Which
It doesn't all happen in the same year.
exactly, yeah, which is driven up. Okay.
So software support, that went down.
Yep.
That
Trash
seems to be That almost seems to be cyclical software support. It goes up and
It
down.
does.
Yeah,
But
looking
it
at it,
hovers,
yeah.
it hovers at about the.
Last year, we did a little, we did a virtual desktop for the ambulance AmbuPro
Ah.
software, so that was a little higher, so I didn't
Right.
need that this year, so I took that off. Here, I made a little note.
And
Yes, we were in a discussion with trash disposal.
Trash, yes.
We broke the meeting with you mentioning, Chief, that you were gonna be having a road trip with.
Yes, I
How'd that
did.
work out
I had Joe on the fence for a few days, and then once he started looking into it, he kind of said no.
Yeah.
He didn't
So,
want to
could
take
you,
that
for the
road.
purposes of everyone, could you share, because we've talked about this a couple of times,
I
right?
think Joe told us about this.
There's a trash disposal, I mean, line item in public safety, and we're sitting there going, well, you know, we have a town dump, like, so what's the deal, right?
Well,
So,
yeah.
could you,
We
yeah,
generate a lot of trash at the public safety building with three organizations there, police, fire, and ambulance, 24/7. There's a lot of trash that Donna collects every day. Joe thought he could manage it by bringing somebody on a little bit early, picking up the trash and bringing it up on overtime. And by the time he figured out if he got a little money, it wasn't gonna work out. We are now finding the bills coming from Waste Management, or whatever the trash company is. They're increasing, they're not getting cheaper, and I think we've been overdrawn on those in the past anyways. So we had to get up to speed where they are. So
yeah,
if we're gonna keep our trash disposal, which I think it's a good idea, you know, I can't have Donna
no, no, no,
put
no.
her
It was
trash,
just-
10 bags of trash in her.
No, and I get that, it's
small
just
car.
one of those things where, you know, did we have the opportunity to look in a different light? You know, to try and solve this, you know, in some other means, and bring it in-house with guys that we, you know, employ already, as opposed to writing a check to Waste Management or BFI or whoever, right? That's all we were trying to figure out.
It would be a great idea if we could manage it, but I think the highway department they're busy. They've got a lot on their plate, and trying to add this in there. Because I don't think the library does that. I think they do the same thing. They've got some sort of trash. But it's just not gonna work with Joe. He just wouldn't take it on.
Alright. And Dawn, is that contract on an individual department, or whoever the trash service is, does it cut across all the entire town?
It doesn't cut across the entire town, it's building specific. It's an opportunity to look at, but it's not, it is building specific right now. And I think it's library and public safety.
All right, so that's why trash went up a little bit, just to be on par, and not
Yeah.
go overdrawn on that one. Telephone costs, same as last year, no increase.
Can we talk about the telephone in the elevator?
Oh, sure, it's all fixed now, it's all good.
I'm just kidding.
It'll actually
Please
go to
continue.
911 when you push the button, but it is fixed. Supplies, same 2,500. Let's see, the diesel, now, since we put the generator up at the tower site,
Well, that's different
Is that
than
the-
the diesel. The
I'm
generator is the diesel
jumping
fuel,
right in.
and then the propane is the
Oh.
next.
so, yes, okay, so
I added
diesel
that.
fuel for our generator at the public safety is 1,000, so that stays the same. So then 1,025 is for the generator up at the tower site. I don't anticipate, obviously, using $1,000 worth of propane.
Yeah.
That would fill the tank.
That was a full tank, initial tank. so
Yeah, we've
that-
seen that same cycle here at the town hall.
Are you gonna want a separate account number?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, ma'am.
Then we can keep track of it. Honestly, for the first year, if we could go with 1,000 and then see how things turn out, because if there's no power failures, if there's no natural disasters that we lose power for a week or two, I may only spend a couple $100, but it's hard to say. And again, you know, and however you want to look at it, we could put it at a couple $100, and if I need more money, I can come back. But we figured one tank full to be safe
Yeah.
for the year, to keep that running.
Yeah, no, you know, part of me says it's the first year and you don't know what's gonna happen. let's go with zero, and if you need money, advisory backstops you.
Mhm.
But it's also a brand-new system, and they're gonna make you fill the tank the first go-round anyways. Personally, I'm okay with the 1,025, but
Sure. No, it's reasonable, because you're supposed to run it, what, for a half hour every 30 days or something?
We got it set to, it runs once a week.
Oh, it's once a
So,
week.
yeah, it'll just go, just to.
Doesn't use a lot, but I know that consumes something.
Yeah, it's a 500 gallon tank now.
Oh, okay.
I was only supposed to get a 300, but they found a 500 for me. So I've got a bigger tank, and obviously now it's gonna take a little bit extra to fill it. So if we and the miscellaneous, I think we got rid of that last fiscal year, so there's
Yes,
nothing there.
we added that into
So
supplies.
overall, we're, keeping to the minimum bare things that we,
Natasha hates miscellaneous. So we,
So we got rid of it.
we had,
that was last.
we,
Going
exactly,
out after.
she pulled me aside and just yelled at me and said we had to get rid of it, so. Guys, on 200, any other questions on 200?
I'm trying to kind of reconcile the last full year that we have actual numbers to the FY19 budget. I realize there's quite a gap between FY17 actual and budget 19. But if things increase by inflation, I expect 2, 3, 4%. If I'm doing the math right, I'm saying 15% increase from actual 2017 to requested 2019, and that's on this budget and the last one we did. And I'm sure there's a reason. I mean, there's a lot. That's the total number. There's a lot of extra people and maybe some oversights of previous.
You're talking about the public safety building or the police? Public safety, right?
I'm looking at public safety 200,
200.
and
Okay.
I took the 202,901 and divided that by the 176,046, and I get 1.15, or 15% increase. And then similarly, I mean, check my math, maybe off here. On the 210, the police department, and I did the math a little differently on this one, but you take the 2019 FY and divide it by the actual, and then there's a gap there. But it's, even if you compound inflation, it comes out to 14%. I'm just trying to understand that, if I got the question from.
Most of that seems to be between purchase of services and heating, between 19 and 17.
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
Because I have a theory that our town spend should go up pretty close to inflation. And
well, that's gonna be hard because we've got different projects on a year-to-year basis, so that's gonna be hard to do a one number type of thing, because this year we've got no projects. Last year we had a bunch of projects,
Yeah, we have three,
And-
we have one coming up.
and
the year
now,
prior.
you're jumping back 2 years, which is gonna be tough to
Like
Yeah, I mean,
match.
And I'm not saying there's a
Sure.
quick answer here, I'm just
Yeah.
saying it pops out. And like under police department, there's a $179,000 gap, and, part of that could be a police car. I don't know, it takes a little more digging and unpacking
There would be a lot of digging, because that could be additional people hired. We went up 140,000, so, yeah,
We
there's
had IOD, sick.
There's all kinds of
everything.
stuff.
A lot of
I
variables
couldn't
in
even
the
give you an
police
answer
department
without
dealing with
Yeah, a
a
wages.
huge amount of research on that one.
True, but I mean, Ted, at the same time, take a look at actual FY16, I'm sorry, I saw that as 202. Actual of 15, 208,
which budget you're on the
Public
safety.
public safety?
on 200, public safety. Actual 15, 208, and the request this year is 202,
Oh, I like that.
right? So again, I think it is a function of, we did right side the heating, right? We did that analysis across the town with your research from that,
Well, that was just energy.
no, exactly, but, we cut that across the entire town, and we right-sided it, And then I think, to the chief's point, projects within maintenance and software, it drives this thing big time. I mean, a $94,000 spend in 2016 on maintenance, and then the next actual fell to 38. So again, there's some big drivers.
No, I
Yeah.
don't expect
Well,
an
yeah,
answer,
yeah,
it's just.
Yeah, even just the budget and the actual, where we had a very bad year of staffing. We couldn't hire people, so I think we gave back quite a bit of money because of that, because I couldn't find somebody to fill that spot. So there was a whole salary there.
Yeah, we'd have to look at this absent salaries and see maybe what that story tells.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and we're in the same boat every year because we're always looking at the actual 2 years ago,
Yeah.
pretty much. We have current spend on the last
Exactly.
budget, but we don't know until
No,
we
exactly,
go through
but
this next year to see what we did.
if someone said to you, hey, XYZ budget 5 years ago was 208 grand, and this year they're coming in with a request of 202.
I would be happy.
Okay then. Any other questions? Entertain a motion to approve 200 as is.
Some of,
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right,
Did we do, we have to.
we're going back to 210, we're going to 299 right now.
299?
Yeah, that's Devon's.
Okay, yep. 299 is our dispatch.
Yep.
And we have a set fee. And I still have not got it, unless you've heard anything, still no fee.
Well, budget hasn't been finalized yet.
Okay, so we do not have the final word on what that cost is. So we brought over the 157 to say, we're hoping it'll be lower because they brought one more town to the town.
Yeah,
And
I wouldn't assume it's gonna be lower. I think the best assumption we can make right now is that it'll be level, and because there's some investments that need to be made, it could even be up slightly, but I think the best assumption we can make is level.
Okay. So, guys, on this one, I mean, you can see the last actual, the move to Devon's, it seems though year over year has greatly assisted the town from a financial standpoint. Knowing that the budget number is still yet to be determined, that this is level, from last year. If it's okay with you guys, once we hear, ultimately, you guys will hear what the number is, or Don will hear, he'll let, Linda lets the Notchka know, this will get updated for us, and then we will, vote on this, and assuming you guys will be okay with that, I'm not gonna make you come in.
Sure, that's fine. Yeah,
I'm on the budget subcommittee, Brad, so I'll know the number before the full
There you go. Perfect.
operating board will, so.
All right,
And it has been going down, so
Yeah.
it's been good. They're doing a great job for us.
And just so you know, when you factor in the grant that we're getting for the radios, which was $271,000, probably since, in round numbers, and I'm fairly conservative, since we made the switch to Devon's, the town has saved about $600,000.
all right, any other questions on 299, guys? All right, so let's go back to 210, and guys, so the last outstanding item is the request for a cruiser. Just so everyone is aware, just as a reminder or to let people know, as opposed to a capital item, say for example with DPW where, they put in an official capital request, police, we have a line item right in the budget for a cruiser purchase. So if you could, we're trying to be a little bit more efficient this year, not have you guys come back in later down the road.
They're all one package for each member. Yeah, so the Ford just came out with a new police pursuit rated F-150 pickup truck. Now, over the years, we've come to, oh, yep,
Oh, I'm sorry, I gave yours away.
I'll give you mine, yeah.
Sorry, no
Oh,
problem.
no, yeah, I don't need it, because, you can take it away. So, yeah.
I think I've got two.
No, what I did is I just picked out of the 29-page brochure, I picked out what was pertinent to this. So it's got some, things you can look at later. Over the years, we went from the Dodge Charger, the rear-wheel drive, to an all-wheel drive Charger, to the Explorers. And the Explorers were, the big sell was all-wheel drive. It was higher off the ground than the Chargers, because the Chargers only have a couple inches of clearance, and we're ripping everything off. So we went to the Ford Explorer, because that was one of the only other items that was available for police work.
Was that the one that has
person.
the exhaust? They had some exhaust problems?
Yes, the Ford Explorer has some exhaust problems that they're fixing. So they've identified the problems, and as we get them over, they're getting fixed. Whether, I'm hoping the new models are obviously fixed. But what it was a lot of the aftermarket stuff, they were leaving holes. So all those gases were just coming back into the cruiser. So that's known. So,
Just to be clear, that wasn't Ford's doing, it was the aftermarket.
Well, whoever it was,
It wasn't Ford, so
Right.
it's not a Ford problem, it's the local guys who are installing stuff and drilling holes and not closing, so.
see what now?
I was just about to ask, like, did he just sign on with some account with Ford? Or?
All right, so
I'm
the-
taking over for The Rock.
All right, nice.
So when we were given permission, we went with the all-wheel drive Explorers. Okay, that gets us around the minimum. It's still not an off-road vehicle, and y'all know what Bolton looks like. We've got golf courses, we've got conservation property, we've got Boy Scout, Girl Scout camps. Sometimes we gotta get places that even the Ford Explorer can't go. Up somebody's driveway on a bad snowstorm. You're only gonna get to the end of the driveway until you get stuck. So Ford came out with the F-150, and they've got it pursuit rated, okay? I wouldn't be bringing this vehicle forward unless it was pursuit rated. So what that means is, when it's pursuit rated, that means it's gone through the testing. Ford has presented the vehicle, and it's been redesigned, so the suspension is tuned differently for cornering. There's anti-roll integration and technical stuff in there. The engine's beefed up. So it's a little bit bigger and better than the special service vehicle, so that it can undertake all the police work that we have to do out there. So when I saw that, I got pretty excited, because in Bolton, we gotta get places, a lot of times we can't even go with the Explorer. The Ford F-150's got over 9 inches of clearance, where the SUV only has, I think,
The diesel?
it's not diesel. The engine is an EcoBoost 6-cylinder. So it actually, I'm gonna get pretty close to the same mileage as I'm getting on the Explorer, and I'm gonna get more horsepower on that. So what I did is I put a few facts together. Here's my fact sheet. I'll go back and I'll read off of that real quick. There, one there.
You?
3 more for the, I'm sorry, Stan, I didn't make enough for you.
That's okay.
So it is a little more expensive. It comes right off the bat. It's, for the base model, we're talking $34,500, just for the base model. And then we're putting 10 to 12 grand worth of upfitting onto that. So that brings it up to the 45, or I've got a few different options, 47.4. Okay. The Explorer, if I go with the Explorer, that price increased also. So the.
Okay, so here.
Yep. So the F-150, so this is last fiscal year. The first one, 39.9, is FY18's cruiser. And FY19, all the way to the right, is now gone up to 43,000. So it's $1,000 right off the bat just to buy the base model, and about $1,000 more, just an increase on the equipment value, and then there was some extra things that we needed to put on it. So that bumped that up to 43. So right off the bat, I need to come up with 43,000 at the minimum to put an Explorer on the road. So The Ford, if we look at it, it's gone up $4,300 more than the Explorer. Not a huge amount of money, because I think the value that this vehicle has for the purpose that we can use it, for police work, throwing barricades in, picking up, evidence at a scene, picking up bikes everywhere. Right now, we can't do that in the Explorers, because the things hang out the doors, and we leave doors open and they can fall out. It's Pursuit rated. The engine is governed at 100 miles per hour. Yes.
Question. Well, as I'm looking at this, the only difference I see in the FY19 F-150, which I think would last longer than an Explorer would anyway, personally. The only difference in pricing is the aftermarket upfitting, right? Because everything else looks the same except for...
No, if you look at the base price, so base, 1, 2, 3, 4 rows down, it's $34,500 for the base model, whereas the
Right, all
Explorer
across.
is $29,000.
No, I'm not talking about the Explorer, I'm talking about the Ford FY19, number 1, number 2, and number 3.
Right.
The only difference in 1, 2, and 3 of the truck
Yep.
is the upfitting,
That, yes.
right?
Yes, and that's why I gave you different, well, what I did is, on option number 1 is everything, all the bells and whistles that we need. Okay, on number 2 option, if I take off the push bumper and a few of the lights, there's about $2,300. So that, hadn't gotten to that part.
I'm sorry, I'm
Where-
just jumping the chair.
Yeah, I said, so option 2 is, I take a few things off. And same thing with option 3. I take a few more things off to kind of lower it down. I may lose the light bar, but I still gotta have enough equipment, and, it may not be a fully marked cruiser like it's, with a light bar. It just won't have a light bar. It'll have all the graphics on the side, but it just won't have a light bar. So what I try to do is just show you some options, where,
And you'd be happy with option number 3?
No, I would not be happy.
Well, then, next time, don't put it on there, I'm gonna tell you, right off the bat. Just don't give us that
Okay.
choice.
You have to have a light bar, don't you? I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
Why do you need a light bar?
Well, light bars for
if you're on the
visibility,
side of the
so.
road and you're
Screw 'em.
stopped,
Screw 'em. Well, the first thing is, being a higher vehicle, people are gonna see that better. So if you're up behind a car, if the Charger's right behind the car, you don't see my lights, unless you're coming up from the back. So anybody coming forward, the car that I have stopped is gonna be blocking all my lights. You may see some peripheral stuff,
Right.
but you're not gonna see the head-on stuff. Where the Explorer, it's up a little bit higher, not as much, because it's still not a high vehicle. But now the F-150, we're up a little bit higher. So now my light bar is, 1.5 foot higher.
But
Then the
did
other-
you not make your bones in this town on an unmarked cruiser, starting out?
That was a white car. Yes, I remember that.
In the fishing hole?
Yeah, but, I'm
A couple blue lights right in the grill?
couple of things, that's all you want? Well, no, I think officer safety, that this is a duty patrol car, and it's a frontline car that has to be, pretty decked out with everything. We're not back in the days of the highway safety unit, where I'm trying to, stop people more, and catch
so
speed.
option 3 is out for you.
All right,
Yeah,
cut 3 out, that,
it's not
Out
there,
for you.
yeah.
But what
option,
about option 2?
option 2, I can live without a push bumper. That's just,
That's the push bumper and the...
we have to give somebody a little nudge off the road to get their car off the road, or if we go off road, it might, keep the branches from.
I would think that'd be more applicable than a light bar.
No,
I would say,
no. Light bar for visibility,
No, I'm not.
Yeah.
because
for the safety of the.
safety of
You guys know.
officers and everybody we have
Your
stopped.
vehicles are very visible.
No.
You can see them from the blue haze.
How long would you expect this vehicle to be in service? The same amount of time as a cruiser or longer?
Well, there's a good question, because as Connie said, it should last longer. It is a little bit heavier duty vehicle, but I'm also looking at,
I mean, never mind.
well, yeah, it's one of the best selling trucks on the
My
market.
husband had a 150, so I'm familiar with it, I'm just asking.
I don't have an exact time. What I was thinking was almost turning these over quicker, so that if I had it 5 years, so that the fire department could have a truck, so that the DPW.
They're coming in asking for a truck anyways.
DPW is gonna need more trucks. But I think that vehicle's gonna last me 10 years.
I like
And-
that idea better than an Explorer, another Explorer. I really do.
I think it makes sense.
I mean, it makes sense to have one on.
And as I went down, I added a few things, just the four-wheel drive. Anybody that's got all-wheel drive knows four-wheel drive's much
Well, yeah,
better.
I could not, personally, I could not support the purchase of a pickup truck unless you're gonna get four-wheel drive.
Oh, I would not get a two-wheel drive. No, that's crazy. You're just wasting money. This is gonna have an off-road package, so, now when it snows out and I got a foot of snow,
See you later.
I might be able to get through it and get to some of the places. A tow package. The Explorer doesn't have a tow package. I'd have to put, go to U-Haul and put one of the trailer hitches on and do the wiring. So I'd be spending money where this is included in the package. Well, the fire department's got a light trailer and a gator trailer. So right now, I can't bring any of those vehicles to the scene. We've got to find somebody on the fire department to bring them if we need them. So it's just another handy tool. Cargo space, we've got more room. Not saying I've got larger, bigger, bulkier officers, but there's a little bit more room for everybody to move around. If anybody's ever seen or looked in the Cruiser, we're pretty much shoehorned into these cars. Even the Explorers, there's not a lot of room with all the equipment we have, computers and consoles. So there's more room for the officer to spread out a little bit more. And we're using personal vehicles to bring equipment to training. Where now if I have a pickup truck or a fleet of pickup trucks, I can put all my range equipment in one or two pickup trucks and off and run we go.
Is there a separate
Long cut.
compartment if somebody's arrested?
Yes.
Yes, so it is four-door. No. So,
It's a cruiser and pursuit cruiser as well. right? I mean, it's-
yes, it'll have four doors. It's a it's a crew
Super
cab.
cab kind of.
Yes, so the back would have the barrier,
It's got all the cages.
the partition, everything in there, and we'll do the gun racks on one side, prison on the other side to do that. Berlin's had one for a while. Theirs is not pursuit rated because the pursuit rated ones haven't come out yet, but their officers love them. That was the fleet manager was able to talk to some of the officers there. They're hoping to get another one. Hudson's had a pickup truck, Auburn, Leicester, Acton, Northborough, and a lot of those it's either a supervisor's car or they're just moving stuff around, barricades, whatever it is.
Can you please explain Auburn's snow plowing?
Oh, well, I don't know if that's gonna go over too well, but they've got an F-250. So they plow their own lot, is what happens in Auburn. A 150, probably not the best, if you wanna do plowing, you wanna go up to the 250, but there's no pursuit rated 250.
I would
Well,
leave the
plus you
plowing
wouldn't
to the
put a
plowing
plow
guys and
on
you
a
guys do the police.
pursuit.
I'm not looking, yes, I'm not looking to do plowing with our vehicles.
So your cruises currently last the 5 years, you change them out every 5 years? How much-
No, we try to get, what we do is we
I
put
just
them.
don't know.
Yep,
I'm sorry.
so when we buy them, they go to the front line. So the
Okay.
officers get them, they're the duty cruisers for
Okay.
at least 2, 3, 4 years,
Okay.
depending on how we cycle. Now, right now, I've got a Dodge Charger and also, I've got two Dodge Chargers that are, they're rusting out and
They're the oldest of the...
they're 10+ years close.
Okay.
So I've got to start phasing them out. So now I've got to bring an Explorer, I got to strip that down so I can have it for either the detective, lieutenant, or anybody going to school.
Yeah.
So that's where the new vehicle will take place of that.
Okay.
So, obviously, I didn't figure out how many years, but if I don't get 7 to 10 years use out of a Ford pickup truck.
So is it fair to say, assuming the pickup truck is a yes from us and from the town, that next year you go back to an Explorer? And like every other year you do it, or are you going pickup truck from here on out?
If the pickup truck works, I would go with the pickup truck all year round. Because it's a vehicle that's gonna be more valuable to us out on the street.
So you mean
and get
you would
around.
just basically replace the Explorers with pickup trucks as the cycle goes on?
Yes.
Or whatever other SUV you review.
Then everybody's driving the same cars.
So one thing you mentioned was, like, as those vehicles age out of being serviceable for the police, they might be passed on to another department.
Yes.
Have you talked with those department heads about whether they would be useful?
No, I haven't. Most of the time, nobody wants our cars anyways, and We just trade them in. But I think even the trade-in value on this is gonna be more than the $1,500 I get for a Dodge Charger. That's the.
Yeah, it's
same
just the
figure.
concern that I have is over the course of a 10-year time period, we're going from a fleet of cars to a fleet of trucks. We've gone from cars to SUVs, and now we're going to trucks. And in the course of that, everything's gone up. You make some very valid points, without a doubt. To Connie's point, tires on a pickup truck are gonna cost more money, right? So when we fast forward, we've got an entire fleet of pickup trucks. So I think we all just need to be cognizant of that. And unless the other departments are gonna find these useful, then there's no point in having it on here, because if it's not useful to them, what the hell's the point, right?
But we always offer them out, you know, it's always a vehicle, the town hall gets a shot at, fire department, every department gets a shot at it if they need it.
As a green community, we're obligated to buy certain police cars when they're available.
Mhm.
And I don't know if they're available now or not, but that's an obligation we signed up for. And,
Yes. On the police car, we don't have to be green for the duty cruisers. If you wanna buy me a cruiser, for an admin cruiser, that's where the green.
I don't know.
You'd look
the
really
rules.
cute in a little Prius.
What you say about for me, a car is a car, okay? But for the officers that are doing their work, they don't need to be green. That, I think, has already been ruled out. We do not have to have a Prius driving around.
I don't know what the green community people have decided, but they.
I can guarantee you,
Don knows all
there's
that.
No, the chief is exactly right. Pursuit rated vehicles are exempt from green community status,
Currently.
currently.
which is what we agreed to, so.
All right. Any other questions for the chief on the cruiser?
Maybe a Tesla.
Is there
Doesn't
any
it? They're pretty
advantage to the, I mean, because if you have a mixed fleet, sounds like that would be as expensive.
Well, you're gonna have a mixed fleet, unless you-
Yeah.
No, in 10 years, if they're rolling over
Well,
12
who knows
trucks.
what
I was
on
wondering
earth-
if there was an advantage to an Explorer, at least one or two out of, how many vehicles do we have? 5?
Well, you make that decision later,
Well-
it's not something you can settle now.
Oh, no, you have to think about
We
it.
have fun.
I wish we did.
Well, we need more vehicles, but
Do these trucks come in colors that are acceptable to the town?
Oh, I don't know, Ted. It all depends on what color you want.
And green.
Nasty.
No, I mean, is there an upcharge for that, or is it?
Right now, there's, I don't know, I didn't print the color
I mean,
schemes off.
Ford used to only give you black.
No,
100 years ago.
there's at least a dozen colors I can,
Okay.
just off the shot, what I remember.
Color chart.
And there you go, there's a color chart right there.
All right.
Close enough.
You have a question in the audience?
All right. Oh, yes.
Yeah, to Chief's point, I've seen a lot of other communities where they've got at least one, maybe more. I think it's a worthwhile experiment, and I think pickup truck's a very versatile vehicle. I had one for a long time,
Yeah.
and someday when I grow up, I'll get another one.
No,
So I think it's a
Yeah.
worthwhile experiment. We can decide later on whether we want to convert all trucks or have a mix. But I
Yeah.
think this is a worthwhile experiment. I also would encourage the advisory committee, I mean, fully outfitting Explorer is 43, the way option 1 the chief wants. Fully outfitting the F-150 is 47. We're looking at $4,400 different. I think we should outfit it the way the chief wants it in option 1, as opposed to light bar, no light bar, this. I think, it should be done the right, if we're gonna try this, it should be done the right way. And,
Yeah.
see how it goes, and then maybe in the future, you can eliminate something, but I'm certainly in favor of the pickup truck, and I think it should be outfitted the way the chief wants it to be outfitted.
Yeah, I agree. I
think
mean,
45 bucks.
I just wanted to know the differences there, and I think, I agree. I defer to the chief on what they think is best. My concern is the initial discussion of potentially moving to a full fleet of pickup trucks.
Yeah, well, that's a discussion we can have, next year.
Well, it's
It's
premature. I mean,
those-
basically, you're gonna try this and see how it works.
Yeah.
Sure,
You
exactly.
know, and I
It's
think
just-
that's the prudent way to go about it.
Correct, yeah. I want to bring it up now because we've gotten ourselves into trouble by not asking these
Just make it
questions.
clear to the chief, this is an experiment.
We'll write it down right here. All right.
Okay, any further discussion on 210?
Have we talked to anybody that has this, with the exact truck that you're looking
Yeah,
at?
it is a
For
little bit
temporary-
of-
No, because it hasn't been built yet.
That new,
Spring 18.
serial number 1.
Oh, yes.
Oh, that's always dangerous.
Warranty, I mean,
It is, everything's
It's
an
an
experiment.
experiment.
It is an experiment. It's like anything else. The industry's changing constantly. You know, we always try to get the best firearms for the officers, best training. The vehicles are changing. You know, the job's a lot different out there. It gets tougher day by day.
The Rocks need to say something.
So the other departments on here, chief, are ones that have trucks, but the 150 hasn't come out fully with the...
Yes, those are not pursuit rated trucks that they have.
Okay, that's what...
Actually, what this vehicle is, Ford has made a version of the F-150 called the Raptor
Yes.
for like 3 or 4 years now, which is more beefed up, more off-road, da-da-da-da-da-da. The truck that the chief is talking about is an incarnation of that vehicle with some of the appearance stuff stripped out, so it looks like a regular Ford. So this is not a brand new concept. This has been done now for the last few years.
Okay, that's okay, thanks.
Thanks.
So, budget 210. Any further questions, discussions on this? All right.
could you? Okay,
47.
that's good.
All right. Entertain a motion to approve 210 as is.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay. Guys, so 299, we agreed that we're gonna hold off till we get the number, and we'll go from there.
Yes.
Are there any capital projects for public safety?
None.
No.
Nothing.
All right. So next up, we have emergency management. Chief, if you wouldn't mind sticking around. All
Thanks,
right.
Ryan. Thank
Chief
you very much.
Benzar,
Yep.
so you come in.
I will see you in the morning. Thank you.
All right, so that's 291, guys, emergency management.
Yeah. Technology, so it's all, you know, that suspension, plus it only goes to 100. Not that we want to be doing 100, but at least now you're limited, where the other car is 130. Or at least, you know.
All right. Emergency management, town, 291. So that is level funded at $3,900. If you could just provide a brief summary of what the town receives for this, and then I'll open up to any questions.
That is the code red that the town buys into. So that's the yearly subscription for that service. So that if we need to make a town-wide call, and we've done that a few times, somebody might be lost or some sort of disaster, whatever it might be. So we can pick a certain section of town and send out almost like a reverse telephone call. So it just takes all the telephone numbers that are signed up in that area, and it'll send out a message blast, whatever we come up with. So it's worked very well. It's a great tool to have. Probably don't use it as much as we should, but we you know, as it comes up, and if there's an emergency, we just put out a notice to the whole
Okay.
town.
And the price is locked in by contract, it can't go up.
And you can use it as much as you need to.
Yes, we
Yes.
don't have any limitations on it.
And so, Don, when you say the price is locked in by contract, is that per town or across the state of Massachusetts?
That's
And
per,
how long is that contract for?
contract may not have been the right, well, I guess it is the right word, but it's by the terms of the agreement. It's locked in per town because it depends on when you buy. But once you become a customer, they can't increase the price on you.
Okay.
That's the way it was sold.
So you made a comment that it's not being as used as much as you.
Probably could use it a little bit more, like if the town hall had some announcements or something, or if we had an announcement. The culverts, probably should have put a message out earlier. I didn't even think of putting a message out. So stuff like that, you know, we can use it to that effect. It doesn't have to be just an emergency. It can be for announcements
So
of
you're
such
not,
nature.
you're not necessarily just, you're not looking for more people to get lost. Right.
What we were sort of sensitized to when we bought it though was that we were sensitized to some communities use it too much. And then people ignore it if you use it too much and they don't pay attention to the message.
Yeah.
So we're still, I think, looking to strike a balance, but I think the chief makes a very valid point. I think when the culverts were in play, I think we could have used it more than.
Yeah, no, and I agree, like, if something like this is used too much, it does become less effective, so, I agree. All right, any questions on 291? All right, entertain a motion to approve 291 as is, $3,900, so.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Okay.
All right, well, thank you.
Chief, thank you very much.
Happy New Year.
Have a nice
everybody.
evening, Happy New Year to you.
Thank you. And Ted, by the way, we bought 500 light bulbs, LED light bulbs.
LED?
So I hope my electricity bill is gonna go down at the public safety building.
Damn little bit.
Happy New Year.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, Chief Menzer, how are you this evening?
Very good, thank you.
All right, so guys, this is this is 220. I go from. Yes. All right, so I go from 210 to 230. How's everyone else doing?
Same trouble.
Same trouble.
210.
231, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does anyone?
No.
Nanotchka, do you have a lifeline for
Oh,
us?
we have a 231.
Yeah, but we have
Yeah.
220.
You're looking for 220?
I'm looking for 220.
You don't have it?
I don't think so.
I can go make copies.
It appears as though that would be
No.
very much appreciated.
Do you just want, this, or you want this, the? That's
Yeah.
not really much, but-
Yeah, just a
Yeah, at this point, I'll take anything other than Kalane.
Sure.
Oh, no.
They look good.
All right, well, Chief, is there, while Nanotchka is making us copies, is there any precursor that you want to discuss while we don't have any numbers?
Maybe we could just get the easy stuff out of the way first.
Sure.
Based on the expenses side, it's all the line items are level funded except for one, which is the uniform account, which was, I requested an increase of approximately $1,400, and that was to cover, in the new call firefighter union contract, stipulates that the fire department will provide each firefighter with a Class A dress uniform, which is about $730 per firefighter. In the past, I've, in the uniform account, I've included in money for anticipated 2 new members each year for protective equipment, other uniforms, things like that. So I increased that line item by $1,400 to cover a probable or potential 2 Class A uniforms
Being purchased.
being purchased, yes.
And is it my understanding that those are purchased by the fire personnel and then they're subsequently reimbursed by the town?
No, they would be purchased from our chosen supplier, and that supplier would bill fire department directly.
Where's the union?
I'm sorry, go ahead. Yeah, no, it's my, I was of the understanding, I had the pure joy and benefit, as you well know, of sitting through one particular meeting. Is my understanding that was part of the stipulation that the firefighters would purchase and then subsequently be reimbursed. So you're indicating that's not the case. So that was
Well,
lost.
again, it's
That was
my
lost in
interpretation of
the
my
negotiation.
understanding, but, you know, I don't know, Don would have.
Well, that would be, I mean, there were, when we've done, correct me if I'm wrong, Chief, and I could be wrong, I think when we've done Class Bs in the past, I'm not sure if it was done the same way that you described.
It was, yes.
Okay, so we do have one preferred, one approved vendor, and the chief has an equipment list, and there's an agreed-upon list of appropriate gear. So the firefighters are free to choose, to choose off that list then, and the town is billed directly in those circumstances.
What's the difference between a Class A and a Class B?
The Class A is a dress uniform versus a Class B is kind of more which a firefighter would wear every day at the fire station while responding to fire.
So the B is actually a working,
Yes,
functional
correct.
fire protection suit. And Class A is as one would use in parades and funerals, or?
Correct, yes.
And we need that?
Well, that's what
It
the
was
contract
negotiated in the
stipulates.
contract, so it's really not,
We agreed to that.
we agreed to that, so it's really not up for discussion.
And how often do they get replaced?
This would just be to provide one per firefighter.
But they keep it once they leave, is that?
It would, in my opinion, it would remain the property of the town. So if they were to leave this department, they would return it to the town.
And who's responsible for the cost of cleaning these?
Once it's issued to the firefighter, I would say that they would be responsible for maintaining it.
All right, so Ninashka, thank you again for making copies there. So Chief, I have firefighter 220 department wages, salary 145, 355. Is that what you have? 145, 355 request. That's wages, inspections, permanent firefighter, clerical, and firefighters. 145,355.
On my copy, I had 144,689, but there would have been adjustments made for like cost of living.
Yeah.
Okay.
Colas in there,
All right, and that's an increase from the budget of 139, so that accounts for the new contract that
Yes.
increased from
For-
139 to 145.
Yes, in the wages firefighter,
Okay,
yes.
all right,
But we do have additional things we want to discuss.
exactly.
Here,
You
yes.
got my email.
Here we go
Yes.
again, though, here's 2017 at 116, and we're at 2019 at 145. I don't remember what went up. I guess it was wages. Yeah, wage line. Okay.
There's a large increase in the wages firefighter for FY18 in anticipation of the new contract being put in place.
Yeah.
24%.
Yes, I mean, on this one, relative to what we were looking at the police, going back to actual 2015, of 102, we're now looking at 145. And we haven't even gotten to the stuff that the chief wants to talk about, which is...
Yeah, and the most recent actual, it's a 24% increase up to the budget.
Yeah. All right. Purchase of services, flat relative to last year, and actually down relative to the last actual. So the only question I have, and I'm pretty confident I know the answer, uniforms, you slightly touched upon that, was the new folks coming on board, uniforms. So in terms of the everything else in this, it's level funded relative to last year. The only question the big question I have for you before we move to all those others, the water holes, Chief, I know it's something, I see the work, there was some work being done recently on Harvard Road. Do you have a sense, like, where are we, where's the town in that project? It's something that we've, as you know, baked into the budget. Off the top of my head, I don't recollect how many water holes we've completed, how many we have left to do. Is that something that you're able to provide an update?
Yes, I did bring it with me tonight. I can forward to you kind of our forward-looking plan as far as what that goes. I would guess at this point we're probably maybe more than halfway, not three-quarters of the way through that overall project. So we've made a lot of progress, but we're not done yet.
Yeah, no, I think that is a perfect example of just where you guys as a department, and quite frankly, the town collectively could benefit from greater eyesight, right? To be able to put, the collective project out onto the town website, right, under your department that says, here's what we've done, here's where we are, right? It's, to me, townspeople can drive around and see, oh, a brand new shiny pipe sticking out of the ground, I know what that's for. I would hope the hell they know what it's for, but to me, I think that's an opportunity where you can benefit yourself.
Sure, I understand.
All right. So, as you guys remember, the chief was in back in November, talking about some concerns in terms of staffing during the day. You guys were kind enough to get me questions. I got those over to the chief. Through the holidays, Joe and I had all intentions of working on hooking up with the chief to explore this more. We were not able to do that, but Chief, if you could just give everyone, for the benefit of the viewing audience and everyone on advisory, a summary of the issues, concerns, and if you're able to offer any of the answers to the questions thrown at you, that'd be great.
After I got your email, I saw it yesterday while I was home for the holiday, I started trying to pull some information together. Certainly it's not complete, but it's a start, and I can finish it in the next couple of days. I just did try to summarize some of the information and just take what I have. Thank you. But basically the situation is primarily a fire department issue where during the daytime we've had a lot of difficulty in finding firefighters who are available for response on fire calls during the daytime. Over the last several years, we've lost a number of firefighters who were available for daytime response, and now we're down to basically the potential of 4 firefighters who really have the potential for being available during the day. But certainly you're never going to get all 4 of those at the same time. You might get, if you get 1 or 2, that might be lucky. So basically it's a problem. The problem is that there just aren't firefighters available during the daytime as it was before. It's not really an issue of them not being motivated, it's just that no one's available. So there's no one to motivate in a sense. So that's what we're trying to address, and I don't think we're going to totally correct the problem, but at least hopefully make a substantial improvement on it. Basically, my biggest concern is that, as you can see in section 1 there, basically it's taking us a longer time for each fire call to respond with fewer firefighters.
I saw that at the high school twice last year. It was between 20 and 25 minutes before anyone showed up. Police beat you there.
Certainly the police will, they'll beat us there every time.
Well, yeah, but 20, 25 minutes is a long time on fire call. And people ask me, and I don't know, call the chief. But, I always I timed it because I sit on this board, but other teachers were concerned because it was like, one of the calls was not a fire drill, and it was, some smoke somewhere, but it just took a long time, and I
I
always
do know
have to
that
call
there-
you
there
over that,
was-
but is this one of the reasons possibly
Certainly
why?
is, yes. So, like I said, it's taking us longer to respond with fewer firefighters. So what Margaret Diaz, the animal instructor, and I would like to propose is the, in FY, to finish out FY 18, to add 2 per diem firefighters for daytime shifts, Monday through Friday, which would put more people in the fire station available for fire calls, and if necessary for ambulance calls also. And then we would continue with that into FY 19, ideally by making those 2 per diem positions full-time, but worst case, continuing per diem. I think it's important that they be there in one form or another. So that's basically what we're really trying to propose at this point.
So these are 40-hour weeks?
I think that would be a good starting point, yes. Certainly no less than that.
Is there a reason why you would have both persons Monday through Friday rather than having one Monday through Friday and the other, so that you have somebody on the weekend, maybe not 2 people, but you have one at that point?
Well,
And as long as it's regularly scheduled 40, it shouldn't be time and a half, it should just be the same rate.
to this point, our thing has been that weekends and evenings are kind of a different issue, where on weekends, most people are not at their full-time jobs during the day, so we do have more call firefighters available. I'm not saying we don't have an issue, but that there's more call firefighters available, and that, to respond during the weekend or even evenings. There we might have, a motivation issue, because there are people theoretically available, but not everyone is just responding. So that's another issue we need to work on.
And just for the benefit of everyone on advisory in the audience, the chief mentioned motivation. That was one of the questions that advisory members, raised, and I forwarded on to the chief, which was, given the situation, the appearance was there potentially, some type of, is there a way to motivate these folks to do that? And then I would also say, chief, if the big question that I have is, are you able to share any other alternatives that you guys are able to potentially work on or think about prior to coming to the solution of 2 per diems, or what you're proposing?
Well, given that the problem is that there aren't people available, certainly one of the issues, or one of the things that we've done to try to help with that or address that, is to try to do a better job recruiting within town. And luckily, we have brought in 4 new members recently, but again, they're all really, none of them are available during the daytime. So it's easy to find, it's not as difficult, not easy, just not as difficult to find new firefighters to respond weekends, evenings, but still the issue is a lack of people during the daytime.
Oh, we're not an agricultural community anymore. We haven't been for years.
Correct. More of just a bedroom community where most people, they don't work in town anymore. They don't really spend a lot of time here.
And is the metric we're trying to improve the response time? Is that what's going to, we'll see that?
What I would like to try to do is improve the number of firefighters responding, as well as the response time, yes.
And is response time the first person there, as in the sheet?
It depends on, which standard or which organization you look at. There are a number of different definitions. Basically, when I have response time here, it's pretty much, how long it takes for the first fire department resource to arrive on
The
scene.
first fire
Department resource,
Resource.
which could be, 2 or 3 or 4 guys in a fire truck, or it could be one officer arriving in his personal vehicle. But that's significant in itself, just because he's able to do a quick evaluation of the situation, and if there are more resources needed to get those started as soon as possible.
One of the dynamics, I can't remember whether it was you or Margie who mentioned it, was that we're being called out to a lot of motor vehicle accidents on
Yes.
495, and that decision is made by dispatchers that are not in full bins from the regional dispatch. Is that something that other towns are also experiencing, like an increased volume because of a regional dispatch that just sends firefighters out to every motor vehicle accident?
So the issue is that the fire department is being dispatched to more motor vehicle accidents, whether they're on 495 or not, but anywhere within town, than we had previously. And as you said, that's due a large part to the need for consistency in the regional dispatch center to treat each town as the same as much as possible. I am working with the operational committee, which is made up of each of the police and fire chiefs from each of the town, and they decide the policies and procedures that the dispatchers follow. And I'm trying to address this issue with them.
Yep.
So far, I haven't had it. a good
So right
conclusion.
now, fire apparatus are sent out even though there's not necessarily any indication of a gasoline leak or anything like that, is that right?
Yes,
Excuse me.
there've been a large number of calls we've been dispatched where we arrive on scene and determine that really our services were not needed. But unfortunately, it's a two-edged sword. You would like to be able to say we could do a better job at triaging that, but in many cases, you really don't know what the exact circumstances are until a trained person arrives on scene and is able to make a good evaluation. If they go just based on, the caller's input, they may not see something that's important. I think we can do a better job on that, but certainly not going to eliminate the problem altogether.
If you said the police will always beat you there, is that something that they're able to make that assessment? Like, we definitely need fire here, or like, don't bother? Is that?
Well, the fire alarm goes off and the police get there first. That's.
Well,
The thing is-
I'm talking
the
about
automobile.
the biggest- yeah, the biggest driver.
Going,
Yeah, the biggest driver, 32% of all calls are motor vehicle accidents.
well, and I don't understand it if you're saying that, we're not talking about a fire truck, we're talking about just somebody in their own personal vehicle. Why
So
should
that's-
the fire
yeah, it's
person
not-
always beat the?
Yeah, it's
why
not all
police
motor vehicle
always-
accidents that they get towed out to, but anything where there is a report or a potential for an injury. So the automatic dispatch for them is if the ambulance gets sent. So if someone calls and says there's absolutely no injuries here, they're not getting sent. But if they call and the caller says, I don't know, but it looks bad, both the ambulance and fire will be sent. So that's.
So what you
that's the
said, there's
factor.
never a chance, there's never a situation where ambulance goes out without fire.
Within the last year, correct. That was not something that we had been doing before we regionalized to dispatch. It had been, what do you need? And that's,
And to me, the issues are kind of distinct, because like, my feelings on staffing, like, I want firefighters here reliably to handle fires, and I might be supportive of this staffing question, but I am concerned about just like efficient use of our resources.
Sure.
And like, I'd be inclined to say, yeah, let's get the staffing we need, but I also don't want you guys to feel like you're wasting your time because there's a policy set at a level that you guys have no control over. And it sounds like maybe there's a little bit of that happening.
And we're trying to address that. And certainly, I agree exactly with what you're saying. I mean, to me, if the firefighters are being called out to a large number of motor vehicle accidents, where they really aren't needed, to me, that's a demoralizing situation versus or a demotivating situation versus a motivating one. And especially, if that calls at 3 o'clock in the morning and they're called out of,
Yeah.
they're getting out of bed and driving in here for nothing, really. That's,
Don?
Oh, just to clarify a point, it's not being made at a level that is beyond the scope. The discussion's being had by all the chiefs, as colleagues at an operations meeting. So it's not the oversight committee that's doing it or anything like that. So it is the peers doing it. And it was changed to that way for us because most towns were already responding that way.
Yeah.
So it wasn't, we were more of an outlier.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this is one of those things where we heard 20 minutes ago and we've seen the numbers, the benefits of moving to the regional dispatch center from a town-wide perspective. And so that this is
one of the unforeseen.
This is, exactly. So, yeah, I mean, I guess, Chief, I would say, on your behalf, I mean, if there is, I can completely understand what Dawn just said on if the policy collectively is kind of bringing us up to speed because all the other towns are already sending out, but totally hear what you're saying, right? If it's hard enough to find the guys that we need and on a situation where they're not needed, that is unfortunate. And yeah, there's clearly no blanket policy. Oh, motor vehicle, no need, but it is, right.
Chief, in this budget request, did you include the additional folks?
I have not, no.
Okay, so this is,
in.
all right, so what we could potentially see if that were the approach taken, an increase in that wages.
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, the budgeted for 18, if we're using the same numbers as the last time you were here, Chief? Yeah. So for 6 months, so the remaining 6 months of 18, that budget would go from 100 to 145 in 18, and the 105 requested for 19 would go up by 90, so we'd be looking at 200 grand.
How would you increase the budget for 18? It's already been voted on. It's not possible.
Excellent point. We'd have to find the
I
money.
don't know how you pay for, there's not enough money in the budget. It can't be a reserve transfer because it's not unforeseen. You can't take free cash without a vote. I don't think you can pay for it in 18. I just don't know where the money would come from.
I mean, I could make the case for unforeseen.
It's half your budget for
I know, we're
before
being
snow and
screwed.
ice.
Yeah, before, exactly, before
Right.
snow and ice, yeah. Don, any ideas?
On where to find $45,000? Not off the top of my head, no.
Yeah.
I mean, Natska's right, it would have to be found somewhere
Within our current budget.
with, well, I would slightly disagree. I would say that an argument could be made for unforeseen. That being said, it's 45% of the advisory reserve.
Exactly, and we haven't even gotten into the snow season.
Well, we will.
Yeah, tomorrow night, Thursday night,
Just so
yeah.
you know, we've already spent 100 out of the 180 snow and ice.
Yeah,
Just so
because
you know.
last.
Do you have anything positive to say tonight?
That's why I'm here, Anthony. You
Jesus,
know.
I know.
That's my
Yeah.
Debbie Downer in the corner.
I know.
So there would be no offsetting in the call wages if we had sort of per diem folks, like that wage wouldn't go down because we know we have 2 people and we would have to get 2 people and pay their call salary.
I would say no, it would, I mean, we still, even during the day with those people on, with those per diem people on, we would still need call firefighters to respond to make up the rest of the needed a number of firefighters.
What
And
is
so
the crew size on an apparatus? I mean, and one person, I assume, can't operate a fire, or can they operate a basic fire engine?
If you were to kind of look at the bare minimum number of firefighters that is needed, you know, you ask 10 people, you probably get 10 different answers. But my answer would be basically it's 6 people.
But you don't wait for 6 people to show up at the station before the engine leaves the station.
No, we would not have to, typically no.
Yeah.
Because the other issue is we need to get the equipment there also, so we need more than just one fire engine to
Yeah.
respond.
Sorry, I'm like not getting something. So, like, if you look at 2016, you have 6 people responding per call on average. Is it safe to assume that one of those is our full-time firefighter EMT?
For during the daytime
Day.
slots, yes.
And then if the other 2 were these 2 new per diem, like, we could reliably depend on them, are basically two people whose wages are now coming out of wages firefighters, they'd be paid as per diem, so you'd only have, instead of 4 wages being paid, you'd have 2 wages plus 2 per diem. I'm just trying to think, like, is it really gonna be a $45,000 increase or something shy of 45,000?
If I understand your question correctly, it's our anticipation that in order to be able to reliably staff 2 per diem people 40 hours during the week, that we would have to have a pool of probably 6 or 7 per diem people to schedule from. In order to get that pool, we won't be able to deal just with Bolton call firefighters. We'd have to open up to qualified firefighters from other towns. So we wouldn't be taking 2 call firefighters and putting them into per diem positions, because probably a lot of the time those per diem positions are going to be filled by non-Bolton firefighters. So it doesn't reduce the call firefighter costs by 2 people, if that's what your question was.
During the daytime hours is where the key is right now. We have very few people in or around town to respond. So that 6 going out of the station that you're looking at, during the daytime, is probably not 6. It's probably at top 4. So
Yes,
1 being the full-timer, 2 being per diem, so we have 1 more call guy.
Okay, that makes sense.
So,
And you're saying these 2, if I understand correctly, these new 2 per diem people, they could hypothetically be someone from Stowe?
Correct.
On the Stowe Fire Department?
Yes.
So it wouldn't even be the folks that we have in the Bolton Fire Department, they would not necessarily be tapping into these per diem slots.
Because it's daytime,
They're not on that.
Well, they can't handle the whole,
right? They can't do
all of them. And we have a hard time
Right.
filling ambulance shifts daytime because it just, people are just not. And that is what we're paying them hourly, so it's not because they don't want to be there, it's just because they're at their other job.
Yeah. All right. We're a little bit over. I want to try and stay on time with the agenda. Margie is up. Chief, and I know I did not give you much time to get through all these, but what you did put together was an awful lot of information. I think we need to, on this one, I think we're gonna need to probably just have some more conversation. So when you get a chance to respond to the other questions that you weren't able to, and it's my fault, I should have got it to you sooner. When you're able to do that, if you can get that to Linda, she'll get it to us. We can then take a look at it, and then we'll have you back in and talk more about this.
Okay. As well, we still need to talk about the 2 capital equipment proposal.
Yes.
Yeah, with
That's
equipment,
right.
so.
So, yeah, so if you guys look on the back of your, items, so we've got, let's see. Alright, so first, yeah, talk to us about an engine 4 replacement.
Okay, for that, I'm going to let either Stephanie Wilson or firefighter Forsway
Okay.
fill you in on that.
Alright. And the other item is the, Scott charges, right? The
SADA compressor.
Yes, alright.
And then I'll address when we get to it.
Okay, alright, so, engine 4 replacement. So, the description is, currently, engine 4 acts as a primary attack vehicle for all outdoor fires, as well as ice, water rescue incidents. Currently, engine 4 is a 1986 International chassis. That sounds wonderful.
Is there a page number on that or some way?
Nah, it's in the back.
We don't
You're gonna have to
have
find it.
any
We are proposing to replace it with a modern 4-person cab, modular hook lift body system with 3 interchangeable bodies. Truck would have a brush body, ice rescue, command, but how you gonna, you're gonna take one body off and put another body on?
Correct. Absolutely.
You're also gonna be asking for a lift to,
It's built into the cab and chassis of the vehicle. This is a system that a lot of towns have started to approach. There's a couple of neighboring towns that actually have this in place for their fire department. On the truck, on the body, it has a hook, and it literally picks up whatever compartment you need, have it be the brush in the summertime, or the ice rescue in the wintertime, a stake body or a work body for picking up large diameter hose, whatever we have to, what we need for. So it's an interchangeable, all-season vehicle.
And this concept is not a new, this isn't a new thing that's never been tested before. All over the United States, especially in the DPW and like landscaping type industries, where one day you might need a dump truck, one day you might need a sander, one day you might need a leaf truck. This enables you to buy one prime mover chassis with a hydraulic system, several bodies. If something happens to a body, you decide you need a new one, you can just get that, it's built to a specification, and then the vehicle itself self-loads and unloads in less than 5 minutes with one operator.
and so you're proposing 3 different, 2 or 3 different, 3 different.
Yes.
So where are the other 2 gonna sit when the one is on the?
The stake body can remain outside because it's gonna be primarily aluminum.
Alright,
So the weather shouldn't affect it. The off-season body, had it be the ice rescue command or the brush, could go into the old fire station is where we're targeting it to go.
alright. So you're not gonna be coming for a new building?
No. No.
Been here
before.
It's not my first trip to the road.
I'm not pulling no Lancaster.
Well, I guess that answers some of my questions on why the hell it's $275,000.
A single-purpose brush truck, right now is running about 175 to 190. That's 4-man cab with a permanent brush body mounted to it. So the advantage we have here, or the disadvantage with that, is it's used from April to October. November to March, it's not gonna be used, it's gonna be sitting, which is what has happened, or will be happening right now to our current engine 4, now that we have the all-wheel drive attack piece for the town, which is a 6-man cab. So that truck, being a 1986 truck, has seen its age. So again, the brush body, off-season, gets stored, the ice rescue command body gets put on and is available for, again, ice rescue or an incident command, a large incident.
So how, no, I'm so, I'll say, stupid.
No.
I'm interrupted because I'm thinking, will they change the shape or whatever, and those attachments won't fit on the new, and when we need a new, and now we have these three sitting here that
No,
we
that's,
can't use
again, it's,
anymore, and.
it's
you
an
know,
industry
we're going.
standard. It's, if you built the truck to fit this body,
Yeah,
that's what you would buy, that size body from then on out.
okay.
It's not like a phone where they make different plugs every year to make you buy new attachments. As long as you know the size of the rails, even if in 10 years from now, let's say our manufacturer goes under, because it's steel and it's fabrication, if we need a new body built, we just tell them, look, I need 4-inch I-beams, 18 inches apart, this long, and they can just make it. Any steel shop with a welder could do that.
So tell me about how, you've been around for a while. You've seen the budget constraints we're in. Explain to me how you justify to the taxpayers of Bolton $275,000 with a 3% brush fire rate, and I'm not seeing any ice. So,
Again, right now, we have a piece of equipment available, so that's handling those calls.
yeah.
It's handling the ice rescue, it's handling the brush calls. 3% is the number of calls, not the duration of calls. A brush fire typically is much longer than a typical house fire, house alarm, or a motor vehicle accident for that matter. It's hours long versus minutes long. So the intensity is there, although the frequency is not. And we still have a large volume of plots of land in town that this truck, the 1986 International, cannot reach. It goes off-road, it needs a wide berth. This is, again, a typical pickup truck size, so it has the profile, the narrowness, that it can get into the woods, shortly into the woods easily.
Mm-hmm.
And furthermore, would not just be responding to that 3% of incidents, where there's, because of the interchangeable nature of it, if we had a large-scale structure fire, one firefighter can dismount that brush body, bring the command body on, bring that out there so that the chief, the deputy, their officers running that incident can use that. They can drop that body on scene, leave it there, go back, pick up the stake body system when we need to roll large diameter hose. Instead of heaving that into someone's personal pickup, we can put the stake body on the ground, safely load that, bring it back to the station to get it back in service. We can use it for transporting equipment. So it's not just for that 3% of calls. It can be used on a wide nature of responses.
And this is not a F-150, this is a 350, it's a 550?
It would be a 550 size as far as GVW. So have it be a Dodge, have it be a Chevy, have it be a Ford, it would be that size chassis.
Okay. And where are you guys, have you explored opportunities for grants with any of this?
We've applied 2 years for grants and have been denied. We did not apply this year.
All right.
Why not?
Because we were denied the past 2. And vehicles is not high on the FEMA list.
How many, so it doesn't list out here, and again, I'm not gonna hold you to a number, but how often do you guys respond to an ice rescue? Do you have a boat? Do you have an ice
No,
suit?
we do not have
Are you
boats.
looking at those?
We already have the Mustang suits, what we call Mustang suits,
Okay.
and the cold water suits.
All right.
Currently, we...
Margie, why are you laughing at me? What's it-
Because last year you said you're not gonna ask for a vote, are you? No, we're not gonna ask for a vote.
Sooner or later, you guys are gonna.
I promised you this year we would not ask
I'm
for
a
a vote.
boat guy, I know.
You're a boat guy?
Break out another thousand.
Yeah.
So are you saying if we ask for a vote, we might get it?
All right, so you got those,
So I have a question as well.
Yeah, we
So
have the equipment,
So
yes.
FEMA hasn't listed a vehicle as a high priority,
That's
why do
correct.
we?
Pardon me?
Out of money anyway.
I mean,
Why do
FEMA,
we?
well, that didn't come out right. So I get why we
Yeah.
are. But if FEMA doesn't deem that we need it because we haven't gotten the grant, why, I don't understand the push for all 3, I don't know.
The current truck we have, again, is useful from April till October. So in those off months, so in those off months, now that we have the all-wheel drive attack piece, the piece of apparatus that we took delivery of last year, year and a half ago, that vehicle goes to the long driveways. It has enough space for all 6 men to get to the house up the driveway initially. Where this truck was doing that in the wintertime, that's now in a reserve role. So we could go to Bower Springs with it, we could go to some of the longer driveways in town with it if for some reason the size of the attack piece can't reach it. But again, it's a 1986 International cab. It's a standard. It's only a 2-person cab.
That's right, and you don't know how to drive a standard.
That's correct.
We have 4 people in the department that know how to drive this.
My family never owned those standing cars.
So this would be an automatic.
This is gonna be an automatic.
4-wheel drive.
4-wheel drive.
Diesel,
Yes,
gas.
Diesel. Yes.
Step.
Question,
Yeah.
does this require a CDL license?
No, it does not. It's 19,700 pounds.
Okay, so you don't need a CDL.
No.
Okay.
Over 26,000 pounds, you would need a CDL.
Okay.
But being a fire apparatus, it's exempt.
Okay. Well, I mean, the issue is of not being able to drive a standard truck, standard transmission truck. That's not that difficult to learn. So I mean, I think a case is spending $275K because some people can't drive a standard transmission
Oh,
truck.
that was a joke. I don't think that's the issue. I think
It's
the issue
part of,
is
it's,
the utility
we're not
vehicle.
training any of the newer guys to drive it. That truck is not something you wanna learn how to drive a standard on. It's not a synchronized mesh transmission. It's an old style, skilled truck that you have to learn. If you drove a standard now, we could probably teach you because you have the basics. You know how a stick shift works. You know when to push in the clutch. You know when to move the stick. This is not that type of apparatus.
Well, just aside,
Yep.
when I was a senior in college, my aunt bought me a manual transmission Trans Am, brand new. I was going to school in Pennsylvania, Philadelphia. I lived on Long Island. My buddy and I drove home in the car I had, which was automatic. Never drove a stick before. I had to get that Trans Am from Long Island to Philadelphia. I learned how to drive that car in the New Jersey Turnpike. So I think, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, I think this is a grapple. I mean, really.
I think people can, I think you got.
I think we're talking about the utility of the vehicle in terms of emergency response.
Yeah, it's, again,
So you
it's,
replace it with a like, or do you spend more money and get
Even if
something
we
that
were-
allows different
Well, no, I
emergency
mean,
that's-
Yeah.
it's a completely different vehicle. I mean, I know what the present engine for. This is something completely different, and I get and I understand. I mean, the fact that it goes from, one vehicle to effectively 3, and it expands the utilization is appealing relative to what it is right now.
And that's the decision I think we have to make, whether it's worth that, whether there's a return on investment on doing that now or later.
And look at the projected life of the vehicle, it's 20 years they're saying, so that's.
And it'll only get more expensive for longer.
yes.
And the other benefit of this system is such that it is a very modular design, so even if, let's say just for sake of argument, the prime mover part, the chassis with the hook lasts 15 years. But if we still have 30 years of life left in a body, we can replace that chassis and we don't have to replace the individual components. It's very similar to like a Lego set where you can swap parts in and out. And since Exactly, and so you can use it, and since it's on a commercial chassis, the parts are readily available, the people who service it are readily available. It's not the sort of thing that requires a very special sort of skills in order to work with or maintain.
So the vehicle plus the 3 modules, are there more modules that you'd be looking to add on to this?
In the future, there could be a hazmat module that would carry our booms, dikes, speedy dry, anything that we need for our commercial truck accidents up on 485. That could be down the road.
You don't have that already?
We have some of it, but we don't have large volumes of it. So if we had a tanker truck spill over on 485, 117,
How many other modules are available for this vehicle besides the 3 that you guys are looking for?
endless.
There are no stock modules. We're designing this. So you
Yeah.
buy a skid that goes on the
plate.
back, a plate. And then we've sat down as a group and said, all right, this is what we need based on our environment, where we work, our town, our requirements, how we operate. So none of this is custom. You don't get this off the shelf. You get a metal plate and then you bring it to someone who can fab what you need around
Okay,
it.
all right, that's very helpful, thank you.
So it is custom stuff, I mean, according to your,
The plate is not.
no.
The things that go on top of it are. So
the
it's,
truck,
again,
hook.
Legos.
you know, the basic components, it's the details on the back.
Yeah.
All right. I want to do my best. I'm already 20 minutes past, Margie. So, questions, any further questions on the pickup truck? I mean, this is something that we're going to be talking more about,
Thank you.
without doubt. But, again, this is something, guys, we wanted to have this when everyone is in here, right, having an initial discussion. We still want some guidance from capital planning, but I wanted to get a sense of just some initial discussions on this. So,
Yeah, maybe next time when we have the discussion, here we have the 86 International, which is used from month X to month Y. Then it kind of sits in reserve because we have another vehicle that we purchased recently that can handle some of the slack. So I guess the question is, because we don't have this vehicle, what percentage of the particular calls can't we make? You know, are we looking at this because we can't deal with 5%, 10%, 50%, or 80% of the calls?
Great question.
You know, I mean, I think, you know, looking at the need versus, if we don't have it, what's the detriment or the downfall or the negative? I haven't heard that. And certainly, you know, I'm not against, if you guys need something, obviously I'm a big champion of getting it for you. But I think that justification needs to be made
Yeah,
of what we're missing that we don't have it.
Great point. I mean, if you guys remember the last go around with the previous fire apparatus, the first go around you guys were denied for that exact reason, right? You didn't justify a big enough gap. So if you can go through the notes of the last time you guys did this, that's a perfect scenario that we need some more detail. And I know you're going to be in front of capital planning at some point. They'll be asking me a whole mess of questions specifically on this. They'll come back and give us an update on their conversation with you. I am sure that in this particular case, we will probably have you guys back, just to talk about this.
Okay.
How confident are you on your numbers? I didn't see a quote, or I didn't know if
We have sent out a request for proposals to
Okay.
get some numbers back. Nothing is firm as of right now.
Okay.
Because again, we don't want to build it. We want somebody to build it for us.
Right.
We're not engineers, I'm not a designer. We have the thought process, the ideas, so.
So hopefully you'll get firmer
Groton
numbers.
has done this to an extent, and they spent 186.
About,
Yeah.
But they have a lot of the equipment.
They
Yeah.
already owned all the brush equipment.
So that's another great point.
Yeah.
It would absolutely be in your best interest to have more concrete numbers.
Oh,
The
yes.
selectmen sign off on the warrant
Yep,
on March 31st.
okay.
You have a more hard and fast number. that
Before
can be-
March 31st.
Before March 31st, that can be put into that warrant.
Yeah.
You're gonna increase your probability when it goes to town meeting.
Yeah, we're hoping to get numbers back by February 8th.
Okay.
Is that what we're trying to shoot for?
It's just for us.
4 weeks, 5 weeks, 5 weeks.
That's last year's calendar.
Oh, okay.
It's close.
It's a day off.
But the same
Yeah.
number of weeks.
Same number of weeks, but yeah, we're looking hopefully for middle of February to have some firmer numbers.
Okay.
What other towns have this?
Right now Groton has it, Westford.
Groton, Westford,
Yeah.
City of Chicago, City of West Des Moines, Iowa. There's actually quite a few departments across the country that do this. It's relatively new to the New England area. The farther west you go, the more popular this is, and into Canada. Canada and Europe have very much embraced this sort of.
Canada and the West have been on fire for the past 2 months.
That's also very fair. They're getting a lot of use.
All right, if we could switch gears real quickly, if you guys could talk a little bit about the Scott.
We'll get the chief back up
Okay.
here.
Thank you for your time, guys.
Thank you.
Margie, I apologize.
All right.
Next time you can go first.
Yeah.
Okay, the capital equipment request for replacing the SCBA compressor. The self-contained breathing apparatus is firefighters wear is one of our most important pieces of safety equipment. It provides us with a clean, fresh, safe supply of air to breathe when we go into a environment which would be hazardous for our health, whether it's a fire or hazmat or something else. So it's very critical that once we use air out of that tank, to be able to refill the tank with air as quickly and as easily as possible. Back, I don't remember the exact date, about 12 years ago, the department purchased a compressor and a system for refilling the air supply tanks. It has been working great up until the last year or 18 months, where so far we've had 3 failures of the system, which has cost, I can get you a firmer number, but about probably $3,000 or so to repair. It's currently running, it's currently working, but just based on its failure history recently, my confidence level in it continuing to run is going down and down, with each additional.
So it's 12 years old, and the typical useful life is?
For a new system, I'm probably closer to 20.
Okay.
So basically what we'd like to do is replace the compressor and the rest of the system for filling the air tanks.
This is a portable system?
No, it's fixed in the station.
So all the guys go out, they're at this really big fire, they got a tank on, they use it, they come out, they're empty, they just grab another tank and they head back in?
Correct, we carry a large number of spares on
There's
that
enough
apparatus.
spares.
And if it's a really big situation or incident, or long-term, other departments have a compressor on a trailer in a sense that they could bring to the scene so we could refill bottles on the scene. But we don't have that capability, and this compressor is not that capable.
Yep. And I assume it's fair to say that a mobile compressor would be more expensive, like the vehicle that they were just talking about.
I was gonna say, well, we could probably get a body, made to do that,
But the fact that a scenario like that just doesn't happen, like worst case scenario, grab one guy and say, get back to the station and fill it up while the fire's still.
Well, that'd be pretty tough, because he's already trying to get 2 per diem.
Yeah.
So is this 3 failures in the course of 1 year, 2 years, 3 years? Or?
I can get a better, I'm just guessing right now, probably over the last 18 months.
Okay. And then what's the nature of these failures? Is it, I can hypothesize, but what is the nature?
In order to be able to develop the pressure that we need, it's a 3-stage compressor, and the failures have been in the 3rd stage, which is the highest pressure stage of the compressor.
Seals or lube?
A number of different, it hasn't been the same problem each time, but a number of different components.
And we have factory authorized people doing the repairs? Yes. I mean, compressors, they have certain wear parts, and if you replace those and operate it correctly, they can last a long time. It's a centrifugal,
yes.
And the main thing is it's oil-free, so you aren't putting oil in the tank and that kind of thing.
And Chief, this request also is asking for 4 additional cylinders. And is that part of the program of, you were before us a couple years ago with some SCBA equipment? Is that part of
Actually,
just
what-
an ongoing replacement of cylinders?
No, actually, what is being requested is, it's for, the compressor that will be replaced here actually compresses air into storage tanks, and then which are large cylinders that are fixed in the station. And then when we refill the actual tank that a person would wear, it's actually taking air off of those storage tanks.
Oh.
So those are the tanks, the storage tanks are the ones that are referred to here, not replacement of the wearable SCBA bottles.
Is this pressure involved here, like 1,200 pounds or something? or
Actually,
1,500?
currently, it's a 4,500 PSI compressor, but the the state of the art these days is really 6,000 PSI. So that's the way in which that's the direction in which the self-contained breathing apparatus is going, to higher and higher pressures. So this would, even if we didn't replace the compressor, then at some point we'd have to just be able to, in order to be able to provide the pressure that new Scott or SCBA apparatus might require.
Do we do PMs?
Yes.
Preventive maintenance?
Twice a year.
On this compressor that has had the 3 failures in
Yes.
18 months, we do preventive maintenance.
Yes, we do.
Compatible with the, why the cylinders now? Why are we replacing
Those are, they're storage cylinders that the compressor
adapts?
Fills up.
fills up.
Right,
Okay.
and we were.
They stay at the station and then the portable ones are filled.
I get
for
that, but
storage.
why
Yeah, why are we
we
replacing
replacing the ones that
I'm
are,
saying that the if you go out and buy an SCBA compressor these days, it's going to be a 6,000 PSI compressor.
It has to be
But the
compatible
bottles we
with
have aren't designed to go that high, so we'd have to
that's
replace
what I
them.
wondered. It must be compatible with the new.
So the system that you have in place right now is a compressor with certain cylinders, and it's the same scenario. You just take the pack off the guy's back, fill it up to the cylinder, you're good to go. This new one is
Same-
upgrading from 4,500 to 6,000.
It's a whole new system.
Whole new system. And then, are you going to be able to fill your 4,500 PSI backpacks on this new system?
Yes.
But as time goes by, those are gonna be washed out with new 6,000.
Correct.
And then this,
You got the, that's it. Yeah.
everything.
But that doesn't have to be done now, right?
No.
Okay. For the time being, I don't have any questions. Any other questions on this? Again, I know capital planning will be in front of you looking at this stuff.
What are we talking about as far as?
42 grand.
Okay.
Any other questions on this?
This will probably come up with capital planning, but when you meet with them, are you planning to present a 5-year picture of what you're anticipating? Because for me, the struggle I'm having is just the context of these requests. Like, what have we seen the past 5 years, and what are we gonna see 5 years from now? Because I think as a relatively newer resident, like, I don't really know the last time we got an engine. And just sort of seeing, like, when we're planning these things, it was 2 years ago, I think. That would be helpful. So if that's something you flesh out with capital planning and we see later,
It's
then
easily something to do that, yes.
okay.
You know, I would hope there'd be some more data that would make a compelling case that we need this. I hear, you know, our confidence is low because we've had 3 failures in 18 months. Is there a compelling reason? You know, we're allowed so many parts per million of oil, but we're seeing this, or you know, something that says, you know, it's got to be done, because if we don't, the alternative is unacceptable. And I haven't heard that.
Yeah. Well, basically, with the 3 failures, when it has failed, the system is not usable at all.
True.
Which puts us into a position where at that point, the only other alternative we have is that whatever time of the day, whatever day of the week when the incident happens, we need to refill those tanks then. So our only other option, if the system's broken, is to load the tanks into somebody's car, drive to a
Contract it
neighboring
out, yeah.
fire department, you know, and, you know, try to depend on their generosity to let us refill tanks there.
Yeah. And the 3 times that it failed, how long was the time for replacement? For you to get a technician out there to fix the system? How long did it take you guys to get that system back up and running?
It's probably, from start to finish, it's probably 3 to 4 weeks.
Whoa.
That seems unreasonable. I mean, even though it's 20 years old, it doesn't run.
It's only
Doesn't-
12 years old.
12
Useful
years old.
life is 20.
It doesn't, yeah.
It's
It-
presently 12.
Its hours of running are less than the 12.
Yeah.
And I agree with you
Just-
totally. It
just-
should be
just-
working more reliably than what we have
I'm just
observed.
wondering if there's another way to improve confidence.
All right. Anything else, guys? Chief, thank you very much for your time.
Okay. Certainly, thank you very much.
I don't know, if it's just cold here, the blood rush down.
It's cold.
It's cold.
It's getting colder, it's very cold.
We're saving money.
Now, couldn't you put a sign
I like
on
the way
that
you think.
door that says public welcome and actually close that door? Because people keep opening. It gets
Well,
cold.
You have to leave it
You
open.
have to leave it
Have to
open.
leave it
We
open.
would
So you
have,
can't leave a sign that just says
What
anybody
is
can.
that?
We'd have agreements.
It's an open meeting, you gotta leave the door open.
You have to. I'll bring my space heater
All
tomorrow.
right.
And a
Well,
blanket.
tomorrow night, I will make sure these doors are open during the day, because I think it just gets
Yes.
so cold in here that when I leave, I'll open these doors and hopefully the heat will circulate a little bit.
Joke about my blanket again.
I'm bringing one tomorrow.
Ambulance number 231, and we have it. We don't need, you're not gonna go get copies. Thank you very much. All right. Margie, how you doing?
I'm good.
I noticed you got a little bit of a cold,
Yes.
along with everyone else in the greater part of the Northeast.
Hopefully I'm not contagious. I'm in the tail end.
All right,
Stay
that's
over
good.
there.
All right, so, I'm sure everyone else, I did a quick look through here. To me, nothing outrageously, caught my eye. But for the benefit of Ann, the new person on the committee, if you wouldn't mind just kind of taking us through this thing and telling us what's going on, issues, concerns, things like that.
So I level funded for this year, as requested, but knowing that John and I had come and talked to you with a change in mind. This is all under the assumption, we've heard that Don and I are working with the state for the cadet program. This is under the assumption that Don and I are successful. If we're not, John and I's plea becomes more aggressive on my side. So I assume status quo, but know that there's potential for changes.
And just explain a little bit more about the cadet program.
Yeah,
I saw
so-
something in the newspaper that there were some concerns.
Yeah, so the cadet program has been running for 30 years, and that's important. Basically, we started the cadet program as a way to staff.
Farm system.
Yeah, to staff the ambulance during the daytime. So it's important to know it's 30 years. So we've been struggling with this for 30 years, right? So it's become a way of life for us. So everybody loves the cadet program. It's no longer just a mechanism to staff the ambulance. It's really,
It's awesome.
yeah, it's really something that we
just
all, yeah.
phenomenal stories that have come
Yeah.
from absolutely.
Yeah, so we are very passionately working with the state to maintain what we have now, but.
Because the concern is the state is trying to shut these programs down.
Yes, yep. So, in fact, they have issued us a letter stating that as of the end of this fiscal year, it is not we will not be doing it
The
again.
rationale for that
Yes.
is?
So when it started, it was a project waiver, which is intended to last for 5 years. And 5 years after that, they said, let's do another project waiver. And 5 years after that, so we're 30 years into 5-year waivers, and they wanted to, they're trying to get away from project waivers. So that's that's the story we're getting.
Mhm.
And we are cautiously optimistic that we are making, that we have the right people on our side and that we will be victorious.
And how many other towns have a program like this?
Just Harvard in the state of Massachusetts. So
Bolton and Harvard in the state of Massachusetts.
So that's it. So there are several, there's been a slight change in the way that EMS operates. The state is now complying with national regulations, so we're like under the National Registry. There are states that have similar programs, Connecticut, New York, Maine, I believe, and they're also national. So the state is basically bumped up against these national regulations, and we just have to figure out how to deal with it.
Is it a liability? Like, what's the state's
No.
rationale?
No,
on
it's
this?
not a rush. I don't think it's a liability. It's just that the regulations, right now, they have two different things that are pointing in different directions. The regulations just don't match, and we need to make them match. There is obviously a concern that you're having an 18-year-old or 16-year-old respond in an ambulance, and there are, that could be traumatic to them. It's been 30 years. I started as a cadet.
Everyone, drug companies need to keep the PTSD syndrome going, so. I mean,
So we're working on that. But so during the day, our primary response is the cadet program, and our full-time employee, Dave, who works hand in hand with them. We do have, from time to time, people that go on daytime calls. That's not the norm. We know this. I think we've had a full-time employee now for the last, 12 or 13 years because we were in that situation. So this is not a new struggle by any means. Outside of, the cadets operate from 7 to 5, or 7:15 to 5 p.m. Outside of that, then it's just call personnel. Basically, we get the tone, we call 911, they tone us out, and we come from wherever we are. It's a call system, so we do struggle with maintaining membership because there's a proximity requirement. We have 6 minutes to get the ambulance out the door. So, which 6 minutes, if you just call 911, seems like an eternity. But that's, nothing. I live right on the Clinton line, and it takes me, 4 or 5 minutes to get over Wattaquatic, right? So,
yeah.
Right.
So
Right,
this
over
two per diem requests that you guys are talking to us about, it is stipulated on the state saying yes to you with the cadet program, and if they say no, it's even a worse problem. Is this what you're telling me?
Yeah, so I'll be much more aggressive. We will have an absolute issue if the cadet program goes away, and that will absolutely be a necessity.
So, John, this the two-person request is contingent on the cadet program.
No. He still has a problem. I don't have a problem right now. I potentially may have a problem.
So, but
Okay.
your problem would go away if we did solve his problem.
Correct.
Yes.
Right.
So you're
So
only
it's-
talking about two,
Yeah.
not more if you don't.
And so the
The
idea
only
is,
behavior would change would be me being more aggressive,
Yeah.
and
Okay,
we
got it.
absolutely need this.
Other.
I think we need it anyways, but.
and so
Yeah.
so it's also fair to say that the per diem person that you guys are looking for, you're looking for someone who's
A firefighter.
a firefighter EMT.
Correct.
So would this be split between your two budgets, the per diem?
It conceivably could, but it doesn't really.
I mean,
Okay.
It doesn't really matter.
Block it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just curious.
All right.
Yeah.
And how difficult is that gonna be to find a firefighter EMT? Yeah, I mean, is it pretty common, or
For a per diem firefighter EMT, I think is going to be challenging. We'll try to fill the next 6
Yeah.
months. But then if we were to look to increase the FTE count, that would be pretty
so I guess
straightforward.
most EMTs are EMTs, most firefighters are firefighter EMTs? Is that
Yeah, that's fair.
okay?
You find a lot of fire departments supplement their personnel with EMTs because that's where the call volume is. more, you have more
Yeah.
ambulance
EMT,
calls
Yeah.
than you do fire calls, because, you know, fire science is a thing, and we've reduced the amount of fires we have.
Yeah.
People still get sick, you know, so it's very common to find firefighters who are EMTs.
And is there, I'm just throwing this out there, is there anyone in the DPW world that could fill this void? I mean, they're here during the day working. I realize something happened, they would be moving away from their DPW duties, but
Right, so
Is there
we do have one DPW worker who is a firefighter EMT, and he has helped out in a pinch. Let's say someone calls out sick, you know, I can call him. It does alter what he is able to do in the course of a day, because he can't leave a
Yeah.
project unattended, and the nature of our job, we don't know when it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
And when it happens, we leave right away. We literally drop what we're doing, so
Right.
it does alter his daily work.
okay. I'm sorry to take you off track.
No, that's okay. So after hours, we're called personnel. The tone goes out. We all have apps on our phone, and we can click and say that we're responding. We go to the call, and we transport the patient. Outside of that, we do bill for services. So we have a billing company that sends out the bills to insurance companies, and we abide by all Medicare's regulations. And the money that comes back in comes into the receipt reserve. So we actually bring in probably about $120,000 a year. Yeah, $120,000 a year.
You're looking for a little confetti?
That's
Yeah,
Yes. That's right, yeah,
it's a decent amount of money.
Yeah, I mean, you're not, yeah,
So,
without
I want to
doubt.
remind everybody, yeah, so the town has not purchased, the last two ambulances actually have been purchased out of that money, as well as the SUV and our Lucas and our pagers, so a lot of money comes out of the receipt reserve. So that's good. So basically, what I have here to go through these numbers, the wages are the EMTs, the calls that we go on, and also the training. That's anybody who responds outside of a scheduled shift. And the scheduled shifts would really only be to cover either the cadets during vacation time, or like Dave if he's on vacation, holidays, stuff like that. So that's, right now, we have it as, I left it level funded at $60,000. That number we struggle with because it depends on the size of the call and our call volume and the number of people that respond to the call. So we, in past years, had overfunded, underfunded, overfunded, underfunded, so I just left it the same. The cadet program wages are, we basically split the program with the school, 50-50. So we pay right now for all the instructors. So that's our year one instructor who does the actual EMT class. And then as part of the program, all students who are part of that go to a 2-3 class, so it's additional education, and that's the year 2-3 instructors as well. As well as we have a program coordinator who's funded out of that. And her job is basically to keep the program running and on track.
And all three towns participate, or students from all three towns?
Yep, students from all three towns. And we actually, the year one class is free to any adult from all three towns as well. So then the next one is wages full-time firefighter EMT, and that's basically split with the fire department. So that's our full-time employee. The next one is callback and training for the full-time employee. So he works, it's not a 40-hour week. He works 40 hours a week, but his callback is actually, it's pretty standard for firefighters to have a higher number of hours that they work prior to it becoming considered overtime. So his is a little bit higher than that, but that's what that is. And then, wages, EMT shifts, it looks like we moved, we must have moved
Yeah,
that
we
out.
rolled that
last
up,
year, right?
just to
Mhm.
consolidate a little.
So that is them covering vacation time. So, and that's when we have shifts or, so the cadets are off, Dave's off, you know, whatever the scenario is.
Okay.
And our stipends must be in that wages, the 5012 line item. So I have,
Yeah.
myself, an assistant director, a scheduler, and a training officer that are stipended. So, all right, any questions on wages?
No.
All right. Purchases of services, you know, anything that we, a lot of times we'll purchase like CPR instructors, that kind of thing. Our ALS services, so if we need a medic unit, we call the medic unit. They come and they transport with us. So they come on our ambulance and all of us go to the hospital. We bill at a higher rate. They come back, they bill us monthly, we pay them directly. And then we will bill out to the patient at a higher rate, we'll recover a higher rate. So we typically pay, I think it's $265 per ALS call. It's a little bit of a risk because the patient could not pay. But we actually, I think, get reimbursed, I think $29 higher than the $265. So we mitigate that risk with a tiny bit more.
And I remember from the conversation that we all had with you last year that you have been consistently seeing an uptick in those types of calls.
Yeah. So that's difficult to determine too because of the nature of the call. If, you know, the more sick people are, then we have to call ALS. We do try to mitigate that though. They don't typically, if they get there and the nature of the call isn't as serious as we thought it was, they won't transport. And we've been very lucky with Woods, and you know they'll ask, you know, are you comfortable with this patient? We'll say yes, and then it's just a BLS, and we don't incur any charges from that. So repairs. Oh, Coastal Medical Billing. That's the billing company, and they basically charge us based on how much they bring in. So the better they do, the better they do. So that's stayed pretty consistent. Repairs for motor vehicle it's pretty consistent. We haven't had, knock on wood, too much going on with that. The ambulance is relatively new, so I wouldn't expect to see that go up.
Yeah, I mean, Margie, you know, all these others, I mean, I'll open it to the folks on advisory, but to me, you come in level funded, I'm looking at your run rates right now, and they're all low. I mean, we're effectively halfway through the year, and all of them are in, you know, the 30 to 40% range. I'll point out to folks on advisory that, you know, the run rate is showing for wages, you know, 38%, but that's a function of a $60,000 budgeted number, but her right now, through December, she's already at 37,000, which is pretty close to the last actuals of 41, 38, and 43. So I anticipate, you know, 18, Margie, I suspect you're going to be closer to that 60 number than, and you're already at 37. So
That's 37,000 left, not spent. She spent 22,900.
yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
But
Okay.
but yeah, we're
But I still think.
well, it's been I mean, it's hit and miss.
No, exactly. Yeah, it is definitely. And I think, you know, I don't remember you where years past. I remember you coming in June.
Yeah,
like last
It's been a
year.
while.
Yeah.
We didn't see you in June last year.
We did to cover ALS. I haven't come back for wages. I've always had to, so it's one thing or another, basically.
Yeah, but also that new rule, Nunoska, right, like, gives
Oh,
That makes
you
a big
guys,
difference.
yeah,
The Municipal
she's,
Modernization Act is
yeah,
a ton.
she's had a little more latitude to,
Yeah,
okay. Any questions on, you guys have?
My only question is, I didn't see any capital
no,
requests.
so I haven't put any for this year. I did last year submit, Brad and I had talked about this, submit for 2021, $275,000 for a new ambulance. So I don't, do I have to
Basically,
replace this
her
every year?
her 5-year capital plan, I wanted visibility on when we'd be looking at an ambulance.
So I didn't include it this year, but perhaps I should have, I don't know. I don't know, is there like a ticker or something, like you
No.
keep a list, or?
I think, my thought is I would have liked for you to include it because,
Okay.
I mean, we need a 5-year plan,
Right,
right?
yeah.
And so if last year you had that thing slated for 2021,
Yeah,
I would expect that your 5-year plan is still gonna show you have 275 for 2021.
okay. Well, here's last year's.
Yeah.
I can send this, yeah. Yeah,
And
I'll submit this to Linda,
how-
again, just so that it's,
The one thing I do, and I can circle back with you, Nanachka, we should probably take a look at that receipts reserve account and see how we're tracking
I think it's good, I think she'll
for
be on track.
2021.
Because we looked at it last year, and it seemed like it was gonna be enough to pay for a new,
Yeah. Right.
but I don't remember off the top.
yeah, and I think you guys look at it every year, because
Yeah.
you do transfer some in to offset the budget,
Yeah.
every year, so it is reviewed.
Anyone else?
Okay, that's it.
All right. I'll entertain a motion to approve 231 as is.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Okay. Margie, thank you for your time.
And we'll be in touch with you.
Yeah,
Talk with
yeah.
Dawn.
And again, I apologize for not including you on the email. I
You
sent
did,
I sent it to John.
I didn't have a lot of time to get.
Well, it's my fault. I never got it to you guys. I had all intentions of getting it to you a long time before.
So I can come up with those answers too.
All right, guys. Thank you very much. So
Thanks, Mark.
the only other thing that we have here is reviewing and approving minutes. So we're good. And the great news is we get to see each other all again tomorrow night. So
Unless you declare force majeure.
what's that?
Oh,
Act of
act of
God.
God.
Oh.
What?
Oh.
What time is it supposed to start tomorrow night, do you know?
Don't
Starts on
know.
Thursday.
Yeah, I thought it started
No, it's
Thursday.
Wednesday night.
No, we're not canceling for
I
the
mean,
cold.
it's much colder.
No.
It's cruel. to do.
It keeps shifting.
Yeah.
I
I have a
saw
jacket.
Magna
it's
Carta
starting
rights.
tomorrow night.
And Oshka,
Just
make
looking
sure
at my
that
phone.
people do keep the doors open, because this
Yeah.
is cruel and unusual.
It's cold. You know, I have a
We could
space
meet
heater in
outside,
the
I
office.
Have we
So I
motioned to
can,
adjourn?
I can get.
Yeah, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I so move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Stan,
Your way again?
No, no,
thank you for coming.